All right, welcome to this tutorial video on Amazon PPC campaign setup for new product launch. Ryan Logan, head PPC nerd, will go over his exact steps and thought process for setting up initial campaigns. I hope you find it helpful. Enjoy.
Fixed bids is actually the way to go during a product launch. You have to be very careful. You are looking at this as impression-based marketing, not necessarily like optimized cost per click marketing. For a broad campaign, 35 to about a 50% top of search bid, that's where I would kind of hang out for a newly launched product. I give it a name, I give it my budget.
All right, and welcome to this training / tutorial. Ryan, off to you. Take me through it.
Yeah, so the very first thing that I actually go through and do is what I call a PPC audit. In fact, I think many people actually call it that. I do a little bit more in depth than a lot of others in the way that I want to make sure that the listing is also in alignment with what I'm doing with my PPC. And we went over this in another video where we actually go through how to do the keyword research, and then also making sure that the listing has that data as well as far as in the SEO. With that being done, then comes the next step of actually launching the PPC. If a product is brand newly launched, the biggest thing that it needs impressions. And Amazon's algorithm is sometimes not trained to actually just immediately out the door give a newly launched product impressions. So over in Seller Central, go under advertising and click on Campaign Manager. And in Campaign Manager, so over here it says create campaign. You're going to click on that. Now there's three different types. There's sponsored product campaigns, sponsored brand campaigns, and sponsored display campaigns. You can actually scroll through and Amazon will actually show you here highlighted what these actually are. Right now, we're mainly just going to use the sponsored product. These are all related to search terms, and we want to actually try and focus our efforts on staying up here. Okay, so we want to actually get on the top of search. That's where we want to be. So do that. We come in and we hit continue. Select the product that we are going to be advertising, and so you can click here. You can click add all variations, and they'll all pop up. The other option is you can enter a list. So we're going to stick with just this 4-pack. Now, this is one thing that not very many people really understand about how Amazon works. But as explained to you over here, the listing SEO and the browse nodes actually builds a relevancy. Okay. And depending on how that is, the automatic campaign, its whole thing is that it actually pulls from that relevancy that your product has already. So whatever you put in the generic search terms and whatever you put in the category, that's where the automatic campaign actually starts. Now there are different targeting groups. You can just set a default bid, and you can change that however you want, or you can set the bids by targeting group. Now there are 4 different types. Okay, so close match obviously is going to be close match. It's going to be very, very similar to your products. Loose match is going to be a little bit of a broad term. Okay, and it gives examples here. Bed sheets, bath sheets, and bath towels are all different from cotton sheets, but they're similar enough that they're a loose term. Okay, substitutes are going to be, they're going to show on detailed pages that include like 300 count cotton sheets and queen 400 count sheets, that type of thing. So it's actually products that would replace yours, or you would replace the opportunity of those products. And so it'll show up on the actual product page. And complements are going to be kind of a loose match version of that as well, where it will go for queen comforter and feather pillows instead of just the 400 count
type of
sheets.
products that you might buy with that as well.
Exactly. And so it offers a recommended or suggested bid, and you can of course do that, or you can do above or below. Where this actually matters as far as the bid, there's actually a secondary part to this. And that is going to be what you're going to do as your bidding strategy. Now, almost all automatic campaigns start off with what's called a dynamic up and down. So there are 3 different controls, well, 4 really, that Amazon actually gives you. Okay, so you have dynamic bids down only, dynamic bids up and down, you have fixed bids. And those are the strategies that you're allowed to do as on sponsored product campaigns. So we'll explain what this means. Dynamic bids down only. If we have $1 cost per click, we can set it at that, and the next competitor that if there's another competitor that their cost per click is 85 cents. Even though we bid $1, we actually win the bidding war, and our cost per click won't come out to being $1. It would actually come literally with just 1 cent above the next closest competitor. Okay. Mm-hmm. So instead of being 85 cents, it would be 86 cents. And that's what we would actually do for that. Okay. Now, the trick to dynamic bids down only is that this works really well when you have a lot of relevancy and when you are building a lot of traction for yourself and you're actually trying to more optimize than anything. So the reason why dynamic bids up and down is usually the automatic enrollment, so to speak, it's automatically clicked by Amazon, is because they can actually raise your bids up or down. So with dynamic down, Amazon in real time is only allowed to lower your cost per click if they feel that you are less likely to convert to a sale. So that's where the dynamic bids down only works, is that if Amazon is going to change something, they're only allowed to move it down if they feel that it's less likely to convert to a sale. And dynamic bids up and down is that they can actually lower it in real time or raise it in real time by up to 100% either way.
You're going to get more impressions, more clicks with up and down.
Yes. You're also going to get a lot higher cost per click, but that's okay if you're already pretty well honed in on a lot of your search terms in your SEO. The last one is called fixed bids. So these fixed bids, you literally just put in the bid and Amazon says, this is your bid. Of course, they have the rule where if I bid $1 and the next closest competitor is still 85 cents, my cost per click is only going to be 86 cents instead of the 85. So it'll be 1 cent above the closest competitor. However, Amazon is not allowed to lessen your bid amount as far as fluctuating or raise it above any other parameters that you set. Okay. So dynamic bids down only, dynamic bids up and down, and fixed bids. Those are the 3 different campaign bidding strategies that you're allowed to do. Now, involved with each of these strategies, you can use what are basically commonly referred to as multipliers. So if I have a dynamic bids down only, you can click down right here, and there is top of search. And so top of search is going to be up here. You can bid in order to actually try and get these top of search placements right here, where someone who comes in, they type in the search term and you pop up right there. Now, those are almost always going to be more expensive. For like an automatic campaign, as an example, because I'm okay with usually keeping it on dynamic bids up and down, I will usually do a lower term here, because if Amazon believes that my product is likely to convert, they can increase my cost per click by 100% plus whatever percent is here. They will add that on top of it. So if I've got $1, they can actually increase my cost per click bid up to $2 if they believe that I deserve to win that opportunity. And if I want the top of search on that, then if I put 100% in here, it's going to do it all over again. I can actually increase my cost per click bid up to $4, right? See how that works? So in essence, you want to be very careful when you have dynamic bids up and down. You really want to be careful with what you're doing for the top of search or these multipliers, because it can really add up really, really, really fast. And if you have a low budget that you're willing to spend, 3 or 4 clicks, it's already gone. So if we do dynamic bids up and down, I would probably put this at, I usually start anywhere between 20 to 35%. We'll just say 20% for a top of search. And then over here, coming back up to these different targeting types, I'm okay with leaving these as they are. They're pretty low cost per click, so I'm okay with that, because realistically, Amazon can double that. So it can be up to easily 80 cents plus another 20% on top of that. And then you give it a campaign name. What I'll do is I'll do the ASIN, the campaign type, and then if there are specific keywords or strategies that I want to highlight, I'll put that in there as well. It's just, this is only for organization. That's it. Then you decide on the amount of budget that you want. Now, when you first start, it does say most advertisers start with a daily budget of at least $10. This fluctuates based on how aggressive your cost per click is. So in some categories, if I get really aggressive and actually come in here and I say, hey, we'll see if it'll actually do it. If we do a $2 cost per click bid, in some categories, they'll actually adjust that and they'll actually say, hey, we recommend that you actually move it up to $100. So you don't always
Yeah.
have to follow those recommendations. Just always know that you can stick with what makes sense. One of the best strategies that can happen is to try and find the floors and the ceilings. What is the minimum cost per click that I need to do to get just one impression, and what's the maximum cost per click that I really need to do that is going to kind of cap out that, and then finding a good kind of within that range.
Like $20 is a place just to start gathering data, and then you
Yeah.
adjust later.
Yeah. So $20, you have to realize that you could potentially go through, if I'm doing a $2 cost per click, like what I did on my close match. Okay. If I'm doing a $2 cost per click, that's really only 10 clicks here.
Yeah, it's nothing.
Right. It's nothing. Right. Now in the long haul, if we're doing $20 a day, it adds up over the course of the month. So be aware that what your daily budget is. It doesn't mean that Amazon is going to max out that, only if the opportunity exists and your conversions are there. Because a lot of these campaigns, these bidding strategies will optimize towards your click-through rate and your conversion rate. Those are the two big factors that deal with your product in these campaigns. So that Amazon wants to know, if we funnel traffic to you, are people interested in it? If they're interested in it, are they buying it? Right. And so those are the two big factors that Amazon's algorithm is actually looking for in relation to this. So just because you start off with $20, you may not actually get it if you're too low of a cost per click. And if you're too high, then you might actually blow through your
Run
budget
out
really
very
fast.
in a matter of hours. Yeah. If
Yep.
it's like typically $50 a day or $100 a day is actually normally where we will start. The more competitive the keyword, the more you're going to need to pay for the clicks, hence higher your daily budget is going to need to have the ads on all day. And this also, you need to take into consideration how aggressive do you want to go, what's your budget, how much inventory you have, right? And so how aggressive you want to go. But if you don't know anything else and you're on a relatively small budget, $20. Otherwise, I would say $50 a day, Ryan, wouldn't you say? Because you're just going to gather data faster there.
Yep.
And if it doesn't
Yep.
run out, it doesn't run out.
Yep. The big thing with automatic campaigns, and this is my own perspective on this, they're good for if you haven't done your keyword research. If you have already done your keyword research, they are still good to have, but you don't have to funnel as much budget to it. If I haven't done any keyword research and I just come in and I start an automatic campaign and I want Amazon to just take what's in the back end of my listing and I want it to take its relevancy and just try and run with it and see what it can find me, that's what it's for. I would probably put more of a budget towards it. However, if I've already done my keyword research and I go, if I only have $50 a day, I would probably only put like maybe $10 here, because I've already done the keyword research and I already know where I'd rather have it
Right.
go.
This is the automatic campaign. Okay, right. Yeah. For the
Yeah,
$50 total with clients we're talking about, yeah, typically the starting across all your campaigns for that one product, about
right,
50 total. Okay, so you put more weight
right,
behind the manual, which we'll get into.
right. And that comes down to the next part of what we're doing. And this is where it can get a little more complex and where organization really does matter. Okay. So if you wanted to launch that campaign, by the way, you would hit launch campaign, it would have started. Okay. Now, if we revert back and start up here, after you put in the product, if we reset this, we add in the product that we want to advertise. Instead of this automatic targeting, we can choose manual targeting. And this is where we actually get to tell Amazon, these are the keywords we want to go after. You'll notice that it has automatic targeting, right? Because it normally sets up here with the default bid. It goes from automatic targeting to manual targeting. Now, under the keywords, you're going to have three different options. You're going to have broad, phrase, and exact. In the sequence of what a broad or a phrase or an exact phrase is, there is a little bit of overlap between all of these. Okay, but they're funneled pretty well. A broad, this is a perfect example. So phone card holder, if we use this, a broad phrase on this could actually change this variation at any place that it wanted to. Instead of saying phone card holder, it could actually send or have your ad pop up if somebody types in holder card for phone, or card holder for a phone. Any type of variation
Yeah.
of those, even if it's long tail and it's like a phone holder that will also hold my cards, if that's what they actually type in because they have no idea what they're
Yeah.
looking for, that they saw someone have it and there's like, oh, what's the, and they just type in this big long tail opportunity.
Yeah. In a broad sense,
It can
phone
still
card
show up.
holder. In a broad sense, anything that someone types in
Yep.
related to that with those
Yep.
words in any
With
way.
those words in it or any variation. Okay, so
Yeah.
phrase match is going to be that exact sequence. Okay,
That
so
exact
it'll show up with phone card holder. That is the sequence of term. Phone card holder for my phone. As long as it says phone card holder in that exact sequence, then it
Yeah.
can also go after the rest of that term. Okay,
Got it.
now an exact term is literally that exact thing. Phone card holder. There's no long tail opportunity. There's no add-ons before or after it. Okay, so it is exactly phone card holder. Now, it is easier sometimes to manipulate your cost per click depending on what you're going after. Now, in most categories, this one's actually really interesting to me. The exact term here actually has a middle recommended bid by Amazon. That's very surprising to me. A lot of times the exact term is the most expensive because it has the most buying intent. Okay.
Yeah.
And so the phrase match actually has one of the lowest, and the broad actually has the highest. So that's a little bit strange to me. I usually kind of bypass these. I'll take these recommendations into consideration, but usually I know the type of strategies that I'm going to go after. And so I will actually create different campaigns. And so I'm going to come over here and actually show this. So over here, when I first start something, it's like there's an automatic campaign, and then there's a broad campaign or an exact pool campaign that will also add on, and also probably a phrase match campaign. I'll actually add a phrase match campaign in there as well. So the reason that I do this, that I've already done my keyword research and I know what the root search term is or the broad opportunity that I want. I already know the phrases that I think I'm going to want and that my product should be relevant for. And I also have the exact terms that I know my product is relevant for, and they all build on themselves. And so that is what I'll be doing, is that I'll come in here and you can use these recommended search terms as well. If you haven't done your keyword research, this recommended still comes up under the category, your past purchase history, and then also your backend SEO, the relevancy, right, that we already talked about. And so if I'm going to start off with the broad campaign, if I come in here under broad, and I can enter my list of keywords, copy and paste, boom, they all show up. I mean, as an example, if we just take this as an example, if we had an entire list, you can put them all in, and then you can do the suggested bid, custom bid, or default bid. And so the default bid for this campaign is something that, like, it can always show up as that, or you can just do a custom. I would probably do point. If this is a broad, I probably would do this actually 48 wasn't bad. I would actually probably do it as the 48. Then I would add those keywords, and it shows up here because I don't want all of my money to be spent on broad. I'd rather have it be spent further down that funnel, either in the phrase or the exact. I can come in here and put negative search terms that I know I don't want it to go after, which if we've done our keyword research, we know that maybe there's specific products or brands that we absolutely
I would
not
put
want in there.
Pop Wallet in there.
Yep, that's right. Pop Wallet is one of yours.
One word spelling, Pop Wallet.
So other things that actually pop up that we know we don't want it to, and we can put the negative phrase so that if at any time, if Pop Wallet is in there at all, remember how we talked about sequences, so the Pop Wallet phrase, if that is ever in there at all, it will not show up. Or you could even do it as exact, where it's just that exact term.
Do you put a lot of competitor brand names in here or product names?
Yeah, so I tend to do that a lot more. Either that or terms that I know are not where I want it to show up. I am going to negative phrase this in my first round of advertising, because I'm okay if it shows up as maybe broader opportunity in the automatic campaign, but I'm not going to target with search terms because I'd rather have my ad spend be exactly where it's supposed to be. I want to build the direct relevancy for that product.
And especially during launch, your reviews are going to be low. So your conversion rate is not going to be the best at beginning. So you want to be only go for the bread and butter, very target one. So I would put leather. I would put Apple, because it's not a leather wallet.
It's not Apple's. Now they may see the sticky wallet, even if they're searching the Apple wallet and be like, oh, well, this is actually kind of cool. Actually, let's go with that. But that's much unlikely. We can test that later. So yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Now, some of the things, so Amazon always has like this recommended bid, it's the 78 cents. Right now it's on dynamic up and down is what the bidding strategy was on, right? So if we actually change this to like fixed bids as an example, notice how the recommended bid actually changes. So that's because Amazon is not able to change it in real time. And so they say, well, we recommend you should probably do a higher bid so that you can actually get impressions. Or if you click dynamic bids down only, it's going to change. Actually, that one's going to stay about the same as what it looks like. So for me, a lot of times I will actually start out, if it's a newly launched product, I will never really do dynamic up and down. I will either do fixed bids or dynamic bids down only. If I am very certain that my product will have a good conversion rate and I'm okay to kind of do the dynamic bids down only, I will if I'm trying to save money. If I am like, hey, I just need as many impressions and eyeballs as I possibly can, fixed bids is actually the way to go during a product launch. You have to be very careful because it is hard to optimize this. You are looking at this as impression based marketing, not necessarily like optimized cost per click marketing. So for a broad campaign, I'm going to look at around anywhere between like a 35 to about a 50% top of search bid. And those are going to either dynamic down or fixed bids. That's where I would kind of hang out for a newly launched product. I give it a name, I give it my budget, right?
Yeah, and it's
10.
so to keep the big picture for launch, where, as you said, focused on impressions. So for launch, you're not really focused on optimized cost per click. The goal for launch is get your product as much sales as fast as possible, which means as many impressions, and
Yep.
impressions mean clicks. So
Yep.
you want to get your product in as many people's hands and homes as you possibly can during the first month. And that goes into all of our videos about launch. You're not worried about profit now. You're worried about driving sales velocity, and that's going to bump up your organic ranking, which is going to start to get you organic sales. So that's painting the whole picture here. We're focused on sales, 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 not profit. So that's why the more aggressive budget you can go, the faster you're going to start to rank. And this is the honeymoon period where it's easier to rank because your product is new. So this is PPC for launch. Of course, it depends on your own budget. That's something we help clients figure out. But yeah, your budget depends on your budget, how aggressive you want to go for the launch.
Yep, absolutely. Then would come the phrase match campaign under keyword targeting. All things are the same. We would add the product. We would click on manual targeting, keyword targeting. And over here, instead of broad, we would actually click phrase. In essence, we just take all these and we say, hey, we're going to put all of these in here with our custom bid. We choose, it normally is under suggested bid. And if you do click suggested bid, it'll just pop up with all those as suggested bids. And so you'll see how those are pretty high. You can obviously remove them all or individually. I would do a custom bid, 48 cents. If based on whatever I did the broad campaign, I'm going to go up a little bit as far as my cost per click. So 48 cents was what I did for the broad. I would probably come in here at about 65 cents. I would want it to be a certain amount above what I was doing the other one because I would rather have
Yeah,
most of my cost per click going to the phrase
yeah,
match and the exact
phrases are
match.
more exact, more highly converting.
Yep. I put in those same negative phrases or negative exacts that I want, that I don't want to have show up in my campaigns at all. Dynamic bids down only or fixed bids, I'd make that choice. And then for my top of search bid, I would probably do anywhere around like 75 to probably like 90, well, anywhere between like 65 and probably 95, anywhere within that range as far as top of search. And then I would go back and I would do the exact same thing. So I'd hit launch campaign,
So
put
you
the name
launch
in
that
there.
campaign, okay, so you're doing a broad, a phrase, and an exact
Yep.
for the,
So that
okay.
my broad campaign would be created and my phrase campaign would be created. And then I'd start over. I create another campaign, come in here with the lifestyle design. So I'd click on the product, manual, keyword targeting, and then change this from suggested bid to a custom bid and click on the exact, and I'd get my search terms in there, and I would probably put these ones up to about 85 cents in this situation. And of course, this is all relevant to your category, right? So what are the recommended cost per click within that category, the floors and the ceilings? I'd add those in. And this is where I feel like it gets really good. Again, dynamic bids down only or fixed bids, depending on whatever my strategy is. Do I want more eyeballs? Do I want a kind of converting search terms?
Fixed bids is going to be the more aggressive way to get more eyeballs.
Yes. Yeah. Because Amazon, especially for a newly launched product, you don't have any relevancy. Or so you have your relevancy score or whatever, you have your search terms there, but you don't have any conversion history. And so because both of these strategies are actually based on how likely they are to convert to a sale, that is the if, right? If we talk about if then rules, if Amazon believes that your product is more likely to convert or less likely
AKA if it has a history of higher conversion rate than the other competitor bidding similar to you.
Yes,
then it will show you over them because Amazon wants the customer to buy. That's how Amazon makes money.
Correct. Yep. So that's the if. This one, there is no if. That's why there's more. That's why you get more.
So you're kind of at the end of the day, in general, you're going to be bidding higher than competitors, which that's what you got to do at launch. You got to pay Amazon. I'm new. I'm willing to pay you more to show my product. Hey, can I pay you to show my product? That's what we're doing. So you're going to have to pay more for launch. Long term, it's a whole nother game, a game of optimizing that price down to the sweet spot. And that's for long-term optimization. But for this, we are just trying to, again, get as many sales as possible.
Yeah. Our big thing is that we are huge testers. And so we'll test out things over time. And about a year ago, I started experimenting more with the fixed bids and seeing how has that been going. And I've had better success, in my opinion, with fixed bids during launch than I have with dynamic down for the same reason. Now, it's also why I will actually have a phase 2 of advertising. After several months of using fixed bids to just get as many impressions, Amazon works on 180 day sales history and sales velocity, right? And so if I have several months under my belt and I have enough data that Amazon is like, wow, I know the type of person who buys your product. I know how often you should be at the top of search. I know these other things. I can actually go back in and I can either create new campaigns and I'll create the new campaigns with the dynamic bids down only, because at that point I can usually get it for a lower cost per click than with my fixed bids, and it's a little bit better.
Amazon knows that you're gonna convert more than a lot of other competitors.
Correct.
Amazon's like, okay, we'll let you pay less because we know you're gonna get the sale for us.
Right. Absolutely. Now, going back to what I do in regards to the exact campaign, I very rarely will have a top of search that is less than 100, less than 100%. And my reason for that, I want that term. I absolutely want that term, and I want the exact one to show up for it. Because in the end, if I've already done my keyword research, I already know that this is the exact term that I want to be converting on for either ranking or for sales, right? And so I'm willing to pay to actually be up there. Plus, it builds my relevancy score. If someone types in phone wallet for my phone wallet, I want to be there.
So like stick on phone wallet spandex. That is exactly our product. That's exactly who's looking for us. We're willing to pay 100% or even more to be at the top of search, especially during launch. Hey, we're exactly that. Broader would be stick on phone wallet, which that is what makes the sticky wallet the most money, because that's the term that has the highest search volume every day. That is the most relevant. So I call that the bread and butter keyword. That's what's making us the most money. The keyword stick on phone wallet.
Yep. So absolutely. And what's funny is that with yours, we do have the exact match in there, but we tend to be more aggressive with that phrase match because there's a slight variation that everyone types in, because the product, which is funny to me, they don't know exactly what they're looking for with your product, right? Then they know it's not magnetic, and so they're like a stick-on phone wallet for the iPhone, stick-on phone wallet for my Android, and so by sometimes just targeting stick-on phone wallet as a phrase, we get the before and after opportunity And so your phrase match there tends to get way better impressions at a little bit lower cost per click, and does actually convert really well too. So anyways, after this, I've created those campaigns. We launched those campaigns. They're now in the campaign manager. You can actually create also product targeting ads. And so if we add this in, kind of go through that same process, we click on manual, they have an opportunity where you can do product targeting. Can target it in two different ways. So it can show up as products related to this item. That's where this is. And there's 58 different pages of that. 4 stars and above. It's kind of sponsored as well, so it kind of shows up there. There's not a whole lot of control over product targeting aside from putting in the ASIN. And so in here, you have categories or individual products. So the categories is cell phone accessories. My opinion, that's super broad. You can refine that if you want to. You can do specific brands. You can do different review ratios, a price range between a certain amount, prime eligible, not, etc. It'll give you the estimated amount of products that are within that search that you're looking for. As an example, I've done this with some people where like our product actually had like a 5-star rating, but a good portion of the competitors actually had like a 3-star. And so we would specifically target 3-star and below, not even waste our spend on 4 and 5 stars, because we wanted people to be like, wow, these people have way better reviews. Let's do that. And that was actually a successful campaign. But a lot of times, in my opinion, if your category is too broad, such as cell phone accessories, you have to be really careful that you don't just blow through ad spend on something like that. So usually what I'll do is I'll just come in with individual products, and I will have a preset ASINs downloaded already that I want to target. And you have to be very careful. They now have this exact or expanded. And so an expanded is basically a broad version of product targeting. So if I add in this product right here for 47 cents, it's expanded. It's actually going to target not just this specific ASIN, but any ASIN that is also considered similar to this. So Amazon keeps track of similar to advertised products. That's actually like an actual match that they have in some of their sponsored display campaigns and those other things. So this is that same thing. So it's an expanded. It's similar to the advertised product of our ASIN, right? Or similar to this specific ASIN as it is. Okay, so if we put in this ASIN, it's expanded on this ASIN. And so we can click on those, or we can do, instead of an expanded, we can do an exact and say, hey, if we notice that we perform really well for this ASIN, and for some reason we get, a pretty good return on this, then yeah, I will absolutely put it in as an exact so that it doesn't try and broaden out the opportunity on different products. Then dynamic bids like, down or fixed bid.
And that's going to show on their detail page under that similar items.
Yep, right here.
Show anywhere else in the search results, or it's just showing on this detail page?
It does. So it dominantly shows on the listing. Now, just as with other things, there is a multiplier. So it naturally is going to show up on the product detail pages. You should never have to put in product detail pages. However, if you're going to do like an exact attack on a specific ASIN, you can, if you want to, say, hey, whatever this competitor shows up on, I want to hit that top of search. And you can put, if you want, 100% cost per click increase.
So these are for customers not necessarily searching their brand name.
Any keyword that this competitor is targeting that there is relevant for them, I want to be at the top of search, or I want to be on that listing.
Organically or sponsored, I want to be right there.
Yep. I don't want to say it's a lazy form of advertising, but it kind of is, because you're like, I don't really want to do the work, and you throw it on there and say, hey, if the competitor's done the work and I convert pretty well against them, then you can do it. I've had it work before, but generally it's not as clean as you'd want it to be, because like I said, most of it actually shows up on the product pages naturally anyway, so you hardly ever have to do this. Eventually over time they'll test that out. Now, my best practice for myself is that I usually do, anytime I do sponsored products that are product targeting, I use a fixed bid. Okay, I don't think it's necessary to do dynamic bids down only. These are mostly impression type based anyways. I'm happy to argue with anyone on this, but realistically, the amount of sales that are made from here is pretty low, because like they have 58 different pages that they can sort through. And so it's it's a good opportunity. And if you start getting traction there, great. You can find a good competitor. You can go a little more aggressively after them. You can actually, instead of just being in the product lineup, then take that same ASIN and put it in as a competitor for sponsored display.
Yeah.
And then you're showing up here instead of just in the gallery.
Right. So this product targeting can be maybe a little bit of a test to say, okay, we're getting some sales for people checking out this product. Now let's go full force, put it as a display right underneath their freaking buy now button.
Right.
Yeah. And this in general, I would think if you're coming into the game with a new rowing machine and you're better than one of the top guys, you know you're better and you know you can steal customers, then that's when you would look into this.
Absolutely. That's pretty much the how-to as far as how to start the campaigns. Now, one of the other videos that we are going to create for you is actually the different strategies specifically for either launched campaigns. We'll actually go over what type of bidding strategies we're going to do, what recommended top of search, and then there are some things that are going to be dynamically up to you, okay? And that's going to be, what is your cost per click bid, what kind of range you're going to do for the multipliers. I think overall bird's eye view,
That's the setup. That'll get you
that's the
started
setup.
out of the gate, getting some sales for your brand new
Yep.
product that you just launched. As Ryan mentioned, make sure you have your listing is retail ready. Normally our best practice is make sure you have 1 or 2 reviews, because with 0 reviews, sometimes the conversion rate's just not going to be great. Of course, you can see our videos about launch and pre-launch, preparing the listing for launch. Those will be in other videos. So hopefully it was helpful.